Good morning, everyone. I am Crystal Hinkle. I am part of the team here at Syncro, and
I'm Brandy, also part of the sales team here. What?
Let me make sure it's me. Okay, go ahead. I think
Okay. Oh, well, anyways, I'm Brandy again. If you heard me already, I'm part of the sales team here. Super excited, guys. It's Friday. So excited to welcome you guys to Open Office Hours.
Absolutely. We love open office hours. And so for those of you that are joining us for the first time today, welcome, welcome, welcome. This is just a really awesome platform where you can actually just join weekly, and it does not matter if you're trialing Synchro, never even looked at Synchro, or you've been using us for years. It's a really great place to just come and get your questions answered. They can be anything from how-tos. We're happy to, if time permitting, we'll deep dive certain things. But really, all questions are totally okay. I will mention that we use the Q&A and not the chat. We'll use the chat internally to send you KB articles and things like that if we're talking about something. And it's also worth noting that once this ends, you won't have access to the chat. So click on those links as you see them come up so that you don't lose them. And then I'm super excited because last week we had Frank on and he was fantastic, answered a ton of SNMP questions. That was recorded, of course. And so I just wanted to introduce, we've got a special guest again today. We're not going to do a deep dive today, but we have a technical support specialist on the line with us today that's going to help us out. And I would like to introduce Karla.
Hey everybody, it's good to see everybody. I'm Karla. I am in Synchro support and I'm super excited to be here, and let's do this thing.
I love it. We're so happy to have you as well. So again, as I mentioned, we use the Q&A. So please don't think I'm rude if you see my glance look over here to a different screen. I'm just looking through the queue. And so really just whatever questions you've thought of over the week or as you've been testing, just pop those into the Q&A and we will grab them. So it looks like Brandy's gonna grab one now.
Yeah, I see a question coming in from Cameron, and it's perfect timing that you're asking this because he says, we have a question about accounting. What are the best ways to handle integrating the data in Synchro with our accounting system? So I would love to know a little bit more about what accounting system you are using. We integrate with Quickbooks Online, Desktop, and Xero. And actually next Friday, we're going to be doing a deep dive on our accounting platforms. So it's going to be awesome. We're also going to have another technical support member with us, whereas typically we divert you guys to support when you have accounting questions, but she's going to be there to answer those. So if you want to let me know which one you're using, it's a very seamless integration with Quickbooks and Xero. If you are using one of those, it's not like you have to go in and sync your data. It will do that automatically. So you set everything up on our side. Sage, gotcha. So we don't integrate with Sage directly. I'm sorry to let you know that one, but we do have an open API. You also have the ability to export your invoices out of Synchro. I will just show you that because I think there's a lot of places where you can export your data that people aren't aware that you can do so. So actually, if you just go into the report section, this is where you guys can do quite a bit. So you can export your customers in here, you can export your tickets in here, but you also have your invoice export. So if you'd like to export and import, you can absolutely do so. No worries there.
Go ahead, Karla. Do you want to grab that next one?
Sure. So from Cliff, user with all permissions but financials can't do ticket workflows or apparently anything that requires the admin tab. How do you allow staff to set up these automations but not get into the financials? Unfortunately, right now, anything that requires the admin tab will require the global admin permissions. We are looking at that. We've been talking about it a lot this week, but right now you would need the admin, the global admin, to do anything that's on the admin tab.
Awesome. Thank you. I think I was just gonna grab, I think I'm gonna grab one just really quick from Robert. And it's so funny. I knew that the accounting deep dive was going to be like definitely a hit. So everyone that's got these like intricate QuickBooks questions, please come back next week. I know Karla might, you probably can answer some of these too. And if you can, feel free to grab it. But Robert's saying also regarding accounting, we integrated with QuickBooks and early we received payments in QuickBooks. Is there a way to update Synchro without Synchro sending another payment to QuickBooks? So again, on this one, I would probably refer to a technical support specialist, and they probably also need to know a little bit more information as well. But if you have any input on this, Karla, feel free to hop in.
Thanks. So I missed the question, but any payments, if you change the payment, or if you undo it, it should automatically update the sync. So I'm not sure if that's not what's happening. Okay, I found the question.
It sounds like he used to take payments inside of QuickBooks from what I'm reading. And now.
And then maybe didn't for a while and now is doing it. So I think that I think we probably would have to get a little bit more information from you on that one.
And again, any changes, it does automatically, if you have that integration, it does want to sync to QuickBooks.
Yeah. So we'd have to be careful that if you like reconnected that, if you didn't want anything to resync, like you would probably uncheck the setting of sync payments when you're resyncing that. Maybe again, that's definitely a technical support question. And like we were saying, Naomi's going to be joining us next week too. And she's definitely able to kind of like deep dive this stuff. She's the go-to. So we're excited for that.
Awesome. I've got a couple questions in here. So Randy, this is just a comment, but might be able to use Zapier to work with Sage. Definitely a possibility. And the great thing about having other MSPs in the room is people will give you some pretty good tips here. So, we don't use the integrations too often, but other MSPs in the room with us today do. So you guys can feel free to pop in the Q&A. Also, if you'd like to give some feedback to another user who's asking a question. Ian is asking about, can you tell us anything more about the rollout of backup? Will there be support for SQL? So we will be launching it next week, and you guys will be getting lots of details regarding that very, very soon. So I would say wait till next week before we mention those details about backup, but really, really excited. And kind of if you guys missed that, we are releasing backups next week. It's no secret. We have announced that. So we're really excited. It's going to be huge, very deeply integrated inside of Synchro. And then Dennis, along those lines, when is the full Mac integration coming? We don't have an ETA, but we can definitely confirm it's being worked on. We're confident it's coming.
I'm willing to do Steve next, unless either of you have anything else. All right, Steve asked, I've had issues where my QuickBooks connector fails. Have you seen this or come up with a fix? In support, we haven't seen any systemic issues going on right now. I can tell you I have a ticket right now that's something going on with the web connector. If you continue to have issues, please do write into support and we'll be happy to help look at your specific incidents. That address is help@syncromsp.com. Again, we're happy to do that.
Sweet. Okay, I'm gonna hop in. Okay, first I'm gonna go with Cameron. On the technical side, we were wondering if there is a way to disable the Synchro Live portion of the RMM tool. We are working with a client that needs to meet the NIST NIST -800-171 standards and believe we can justify using your RMM tool for system information alerts and scripting if we can somehow prevent the Synchro Live portion from being active. So a couple things, like you can definitely utilize security groups that basically restricts any access to Synchro Live. The other thing that I will just show you really quickly too, because I'm not as familiar with those guidelines, so I'm not sure if this is a viable answer. But if you head to, I'm just going to hop over to a policy really quickly, because I did want to show you that you can on any policy. Where is it? Let me find it. I think it's closer to the bottom. Require attended access. So like you can, if this is checked, you cannot launch into a Synchro Live session without the end user saying go for it. So like this is that's a setting that sometimes does get missed. Again, I'm not positive on those guidelines for sure if that would work, but you can on the security settings side, you can just restrict access to Synchro Live as well. So hopefully that helps. Fauzi, so good to see you. TGIF to you as well. And then I just moved the question. Wave accounting, not on the roadmap as far as I know. I know that we're continuing to add integrations, but I haven't seen that one hit the list. I'm going to grab this from Cliff. How often are the hardware software audits inventory run by default? Is this changeable? If we uninstall an application, when will the asset show up as not having that application installed, like filtered views of assets? Great question. So this is kind of interesting. So the agent checks in by default every 15 minutes. There are other things that actually check in like in real time. Like if an agent goes off, like if an endpoint goes offline, for example, it's not going to wait 15 minutes to alert you. So there's certain things that happen in real time. If you run a script, it's going to run it right away. It's not going to wait till the agent checks in. But certain things like this, unless maybe, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm guessing this one would be every 15 minutes. One thing too, I mean, like you could do things that force syncs. Like if you just went into this policy and like hit save changes, it would force a sync to that asset and it would update. But I think natively it's going to be every 15 minutes. And again, please correct me if I'm wrong. I'm happy to take feedback on that one. And let me just make sure, because I thought I saw someone else maybe had something along those lines. Nope. Okay. All right. I will hand it over to whoever is next.
I'll actually hop in there on that comment just now. We do a small sync every 15 minutes and a full sync every 2 hours, unless you hit the save button, which forces a sync immediately.
Awesome. Thank you for that. We've got a couple questions in here. I'll go ahead and grab Cameron. We don't have Linux, a Linux integration coming on the roadmap currently. Keep requesting. The more requests, of course, the better, but nothing at this time. Lauren is asking, is there a customer support phone number to call? Sorry if I overlooked this. I've been having an issue. I have email, but I think it might be quicker on a phone call. We are primarily email based, and the reason why is we would like to get all of the details prior, just so it's not a back and forth conversation. We don't want to have to leave you on the line for an hour or anything like that if it does require troubleshooting. So we'd like to look at all of the details. We have a support number, but I would honestly probably recommend to email. And two, this goes for anyone who is emailing support. The more details you put in that very first email, the better. Because if you're saying an asset is showing offline, then they're going to come back to you and they're going to say, well, which asset is it? So if you can put all of the details as much as possible, Karla would really greatly appreciate it, and the rest of the support team. But it really does help, and it's just more efficient for everyone's time. But I would recommend emailing. Again, you guys, if it is an urgent issue, truly use your subject lines to let them know. But we do have someone scanning the queue for those. And then Emily, I'll grab your question about SMS. So we're interested in being able to send and receive SMS messages and tickets. Do you have any guides or advice on how to set this up and how to personalize it, use our own phone number, etc.? So there's a few different pieces for this. I'm just going to go ahead and share my screen. I did drop the KB on the BYO Twilio. So you could do that if you wanted to. There's a lot of different places throughout Synchro that you can use SMS messages, and you guys do receive those as part of your subscription with Synchro. One of those is in automated remediations. So you can also come in here and you can say, okay, if any of my devices have a specific RMM alert, you might want to convert it into a ticket. You might want to run a script to remediate that, but you can also send an SMS message. You can always use template tags as well, whether you're doing an SMS or you're doing an email message. So you could do that. Sending SMS messages is one of these pieces. It's also going to be in your ticket automation. So that's going to be another place. And I'm going to go into ticket automations because this might be about SMS, but you guys might uncover some other things here that you didn't know were here. So you can also come in and you could say, you know, a ticket status, I could say it's waiting on customer, right? And it hasn't been updated in a certain number of hours. Ticket hasn't been updated in 48 hours. I can come here and I could also send an SMS message here. So this would be a nice idea. Hey, we might be closing your ticket in 24 hours if we don't hear back from you. Another place is in the actual ticket itself. So if you do have your SMS messaging enabled, what will happen in your communication section is instead of just having these three options, you're now going to have two additional options, SMS and SMS plus email. So you would be able to choose one of those and then you can craft your message right here. But if you're looking for further customizations and phone numbers and things like that, I would use the Twilio integration. And I dropped the KB in the chat just to let you guys know the chat goes away when we hop off the line, even though the session is recorded, the chat goes away. So if you see anything that we're dropping in there, KBs or videos or anything like that, make sure you grab those links before we're off today.
Go ahead, Karla. I think you're up next. Or is Karla? Is she frozen? Maybe she's frozen. Okay, hold on. Is she frozen for you, Brandy?
Yeah, she is. Okay. Cliff says, by the way, 15 minutes or 2 hours is awesome. I think our continuum deployment is every decade or pandemic, but
gosh,
yeah, the sync is awesome. I mean, it is, and not just with those two, like just to chime in, because we do get a lot of questions about like ticket automations and things like that. Ticket automations check in every hour, and RMM alerts is not a specified time. It's as that RMM alert happens, it happens. So it doesn't have to be like on the hour or anything like that, which is great.
Exactly. Yep. Okay, I'm going to grab a few here. Dennis, is there any plans to integrate with Square like Repair Shopper does? As of right now, no, but I will say that I know that we're working on being able to offer different options for payment processing. So I think that's all I'll say on that one. I don't know if Square's on that list. So sorry, I can't, that's like cryptic, but I can't really say much more on that one. And then, yeah, Steve, I agree. Let's get the Mac agent out of beta. Like Brandy mentioned before, even though we don't have a time frame, we are confident and we know we're actively working on it, which is super exciting. We're happy about it. Like, very happy about that. And then, yeah, Cliff, I knew this was going to generate another question because it always does. And I do not have documentation on this. What syncs in the small sync every 15, what syncs every 2 hours? I don't have documentation on that. I'm sure. I feel like I've gotten that request a couple of times, and I'm going to pass this along because I feel like that is a great piece of documentation that we should provide. So I'm going to pass that along for you. Joseph, is it possible to have an invoice sync to QuickBooks Desktop with the email later option selected in QuickBooks? I have several clients who pay via Intuit eCheck, so those invoices must be sent via QuickBooks to include the custom QuickBook Intuit payment link. Thank you. Yes. So, I mean, any invoice that you generate, whether it's a one-off invoice or a reoccurring invoice, it doesn't have to send that to the customer automatically. It will show up in their customer portal automatically, but you do not have to email them. So if it's a one-off invoice that you're creating, it doesn't auto email. You actually have to hit actions and send. In addition to that, on the reoccurring invoices, there's the option to, email automatically. And then if you just don't check that, it won't. So once that invoice is generated, it's going to sync it to QuickBooks, and then it's going to follow whatever QuickBooks settings you have. So you absolutely can. Now, to keep in mind, QuickBooks Desktop, if you mark that invoice paid, this is what gets a little bit interesting, because in QuickBooks Desktop, that payment, if you mark that paid in QuickBooks Desktop, it's not going to sync that back to Synchro. And so you have a couple options. You can either just mark that paid in Synchro and have that paid marked, but I think if they do it through eCheck, I think it automatically marks the invoice paid in QuickBooks, if I know this possibly. So in that case, there is a checkbox to not have payments sync, so that you could mark the invoice paid in Synchro, so that it doesn't sync to QuickBooks. I know that was like super long-winded, but it can be pretty intricate. The last one that I will grab, and welcome back, Karla. The last one that I will grab is, it says, did you guys do an open office deep dive on backups? If so, could I get a link to the video? So a couple things. We have not done a deep dive on backups yet. There's a few fun things. So I'm sure you guys have all seen Andy, heard Andy on Facebook. Andy is doing a deep dive video. So when we release backups, you are going to have a really, really nice, well done, well thought out deep dive on both the technical side, sales side. You're going to get a lot of information. It hasn't been released yet. And then in addition to that, later on in December, actually, geez, it's already middle of December pretty much. In I think a couple weeks, I'm doing the What's New in Synchro, and I'll deep dive it as well during that webinar. And then I wouldn't doubt if we did a deep dive in open office hours as well. So you haven't missed it, and it'll be available everywhere. I'm sure it'll be an email blast, Facebook, YouTube. It's going to be, it'll be everywhere.
We're not excited or anything.
I'm like, geez, I just like hyped that up.
It's not just a backup. You guys, I have to say, like, having your PSA with your RMM, there are so many advantages, because even backup is going to be integrated into billing. So that's all I can say.
I can't see the questions anymore, but I was set up to answer one. I don't remember who it's from, but I was going to go over adding a product.
Yeah, you want me to read it to you?
Yes, will you please?
Sure. So Jeremy says, I'm launching into using the product inventory and PO system in Synchro. Can you give a short overview of how best to add a new item, both serialized and non-serialized, to inventory when you find an item under a desk somewhere and don't have an actual order to go with it? Follow up. If we don't have QuickBooks Online set up with purchase orders and inventory, will it still work, or will it create a ton of sync errors, making it a pain to work with?
So let me.
You're muted.
Thank you. I'm going to share my screen real quick, and I'll create a product. And this can be done if you find an item under the desk. Just go to your products and services, create a new item. And then you can just fill in everything. Here you can serialize it, maintain stock, make any of the settings that you want from it. Even if it's only a one-time order, you can just add it. It will not create any kind of errors. It won't do anything until you actually add it to an invoice. So it won't even sync to QuickBooks until you add it to an invoice. And then you just create the product, you can serialize it. It will require a serial. So once you create the product, you'll need to go back in and add the serial if you want it to be added to an invoice. But it's really as simple as that. It doesn't need to be associated with anything but an inventory if you want it to add to QuickBooks. And you'll see that it was successfully created. That's all I got on that.
Karla, while you're unmuted, I'm going to grab a couple that you had selected because I don't think you can see them anymore. One was, is there any plans to add the ability to disable user input during a Synchro live session?
I have not heard of that request. I haven't heard us talking about it, but I'll definitely add it to our list because that's actually a pretty cool feature.
I agree. And then I'm going to put you on the spot, but I'm not sure if you've seen this question when it has to do with Synchro Live as well. So when we use Synchro Live to remote into the desktop, if the user themselves is using Windows Remote Desktop, we can't type most symbol characters at all. Is there a way to fix this?
There's not a way that I know to fix it. We have seen that before. I know that we were working on it because it is something that we understand happens. I have not heard what kind of decisions we've made, if any, around that. We do know that, you know, because we now have we're remoting into a remote, that it does create a layer of wonkiness, for lack of a better technical word. But yeah, we are aware that that happens.
Awesome. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. And I think I'll just, since I'm unmuted, I'm just going to grab this one from Tony. Regarding policies, can Mac and Windows share the same policy? Are OS specific settings scripts ignored if not supported on OS specific platform? The answer to that is yes, they're ignored. You can use the same policy. And I don't necessarily, the next part of this was, or is it best to be separate? Is there a policy's best practices? And so at this point, you can definitely use the same policy. It will ignore it if it's not supported. And I don't know how this will change when what we're working on is released. So I don't actually know that question. As of right now, I think it's more just preference. If it makes more sense to you to keep them separate, just organizationally, I think you can go with whatever makes most sense for you.
And not to contradict that, but I did want to ask support on that one because I truly had no idea, and I kind of assumed that it would skip as well, but did get confirmation that probably a best practice would be to put them in their own policy. It's going to skip, just like Crystal said, but it also might make things a little bit cleaner for you too.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah. And I'll go ahead and take a couple here. So Steve, the QuickBooks connector, is that QuickBooks connector sync one way from Synchro to QuickBooks? So I actually just dropped the KB. It's really going to be dependent on if you're using QuickBooks Online or desktop. And so a lot of them are going to, majority of the things you're going to want to set up on our side, right? And it's not going to be a two-way sync. It will sync over from Synchro over to QuickBooks, but I dropped that in there. It'll be like a feature matrix. It'll tell you if it's a one-way sync and if it syncs back, things like that, dependent on if it's QuickBooks Online or desktop. So I dropped that in there for you. And then I'll go ahead and take the question from Ian about when asking or when looking at all assets and overview and alerts, I see a lot of white space on the right and left sides, but I have to scroll to see the columns. Can I adjust that window width or adjust column widths? Not currently, you're not able to, but happy to pass that along for sure. Maximize your space.
And I will hop in and answer the next two questions, but I did on what you just talked about, Brandy. We actually have a conversation going with Dev about that because there's a lot of white space that you have to scroll through.
That would be awesome. We hear that a lot in open office hours.
Yep, we're working on it. All right, so from Tony, does Mac client support Big Sur yet? Technically, we're not saying it does or it doesn't. I can tell you that in the testing that we have done internally, the latest version of the Mac agent is working as well as any of our beta Mac agents are on Big Sur. And then we have Emily. This will be more of a technical question, but we've created an automated remediation that if the computer has no AV installed, it generates a ticket. However, it seems to trigger not just for no AV, but for other alerts like CPU usage over a specific threshold, app crashes, etc. Any idea why this could be? Emily, generally in support, when I see things like that, it's either about the way that the alert is set up or with the way the automated remediation is set up. I'd love to help you look at that. Go ahead and send a ticket in to help@syncromsp.com. Give us the alerts that you really want to be triggering on, and URL to the automated remediation as well. And we'll be happy to look at that with you and get that worked out.
Lovely. Okay. I was just going to grab this one from Steve. It's so funny. Have you noticed it's like clockwork? Like 30 minutes in, like the Q&A like totally slows down, and then all of a sudden it like another wave comes in.
Yep.
It's like clockwork. Anyways, Steve, I was just gonna say when the Mac agent is completed, will Synchro be able to update Mac OS and third-party packages? So I'm gonna steer clear of going into any sort of detail because I'll be super honest. I don't know, and I don't want to say one way or the other. We're super transparent that way, that I wouldn't want to steer you in the wrong direction. So I'm just going to leave that one that I think we'll know more soon. So we'll just leave that one there. And as the questions slow down, again, don't be shy. There's a lot of folks in here today. So if you have whatever question it might be, like I said at the beginning, it literally can be something. If you're afraid to ask it, like you hear in school, just ask it. There's no bad questions here. Go ahead, Karla.
Tony asks, if a PC's name is changed, does it sync to Synchro? It does. We do have a couple of known issues going on right now where sometimes it doesn't update or it only partially updates the name. It will take a large sync, and that's the one that happens every 2 hours, unless you hit the save button, and then it should do its thing. And so, yeah, so it should. Sometimes it'll just take a little bit of time.
Steve says he's got a headache.
I have a suggestion for him. He says, what do you suggest I take a nap?
I think
there's a lot of things.
Yeah.
I know what some people here would say, but a drink, a nap, I don't know.
When I have a headache, it usually means I don't have my normal, like I'm not caffeined enough. But that's not the case this morning. I have had
a nap.
I'm like, yeah, a nap would not happen for me right now. I would just like lay there zinging. Not happen.
I like questions like that every once in a while. You know, it keeps it light and fun.
Yeah.
I love Fridays.
I do too. I do not have a bottle of wine or whiskey behind me along with my Keurig. I don't have any of those.
Steve does.
Oh, yes. Okay. Corey, can we set Synchro to remove an asset if it hasn't been seen in, say, 35 to 48 days? I don't think that unless I'm missing something, I don't think that's going to happen automatically. You could absolutely, if I go here, I'm just going to go to assets in RMM because here you could, and I see this often, you could create a saved asset search. Now these are dynamic. These are completely dynamic searches. So
I think you're on the wrong. I can see the, oh,
wait.
Now I can see your assets in RMM page. I was seeing policies. I think maybe I'm delayed or you're delayed.
Oh, okay. All right. So I was just thinking that you have like, you can do like hasn't checked in a certain amount of days. And then you could just kind of like keep up to date on those just to make sure like, hey, if I've got 15 assets that haven't checked in 10 days, I better figure that out. And of course, if your policy is 35 to 40 days, you could literally just you could uninstall. You could just remove the asset, and just by deleting the asset in Synchro, it will uninstall and it'll kick off all of that process just automatically.
Can I chime in real quick? I talked to a user a little bit ago who was using a custom field that populated with the last sync date and then created a script that use the API to remove that asset from Syncro, which then uninstalls the agent from the endpoint if it ever comes back online, and it'll have to be re-triggered. But they did do that through a custom field and a script.
Oh, that's sweet. That's awesome. Thanks, Karla. Go for it, Brandy.
Awesome. So I have a multi-step question here. Dennis, 3 questions. These are hard. Are there any plans to revamp the mobile app? Yes, absolutely. And I'm sure you guys have noticed too recently, we have been adding new features there. We just recently added chat. So that should be a good indicator that we are absolutely looking at the mobile app and to revamp that. I will say, if there are certain features you guys would love to see in the mobile app, please let us know. We have some good, some important people that listen in on these open office hours. So sometimes we do like to say them out loud if we don't have them, so they're getting some more attention. But yes, we will be revamping and adding new features there. Also, are there plans to have remote support for mobile devices? I'm not 100% sure on that. I haven't heard that. Just to be transparent, but it's not to say it's out of the question. And then number 3, using Synchro Live on a mobile device takes me to the website to remote in instead of opening within the app. Will this change in the future? I'm not sure if Synchro Live will be supported in the mobile app in the future, but we would recommend just logging in using a mobile Chrome browser. You're going to have full functionality of the entire Synchro platform from there anyways. If you're in the field and you're using a mobile device or an iPad or tablet or something like that. But really great questions, and we'll gladly pass that along.
All right, I'll hop in here with Eric's question. Is there a way to force an reinstall of Bitdefender? I have some PCs that show an install failure due to another AV or other issue. I have done the recommended changing the policy and changing it back to force the reinstall, but that does not work. Or is there a way to manually install from Gravity Zone package, from a Gravity Zone package, and link back to the asset? I am not aware of any way to do that from Gravity Zone. I believe that there is a community script that uninstalls Bitdefender. If you look through the community scripts, you should be able to run the script on that to uninstall it. If you need to do that. If you continue to have issues outside of after you've enabled and then disabled and re-enabled that in the policy, go ahead and shoot us an email. We'd love to help with that.
Awesome, thank you. I'm going to grab this one from Ian. Do you have any plans to integrate any white listing products, e.g. Threat Locker, DNS products like Cisco, Umbrella, additional endpoint security, specifically Sophos? So like I mentioned, we're actually in the process of adding a ton of integrations, working with a lot of different partners. We want to be able to really fill up that App Center. What I will say is that I'm just going to share my screen because this is actually really, really cool. So if you go to your admin section and head down to the API tokens, we've updated these API tokens that allow you to create essentially your own integrations if you have like that dev capacity. So like I don't, I'll be super honest, but I understand how the API tokens work, and I really love how we did this. Of course, these are our kind of popular ones. So we've got some pre-built app permissions, but these custom permissions, as you can see, you can create a new API token. And what's awesome about this is that there's not many integrations that would need access to every single module in Synchro. So for security purposes, we give you the option to actually choose what the API has access to and what it doesn't. So we've really built onto this to allow you to kind of create, integrate, and work on whether they're third-party tools or anything outside of Synchro. So this is a really great option. But like I said, I think I would just keep your eyes out because we definitely have a lot of cool integrations on the way as well. All right, go ahead, Karla.
All righty. Emily asks, is there a way to customize how items appear on a customer page? For example, if I view a customer's profile, oh, page jumped. Where'd it go? if I view a customer's profile, custom fields is at the top, then tickets, then estimates, and so on. I'd like to have the assets at the top to make that customer's asset easier to get to. On a different note, we have a lot of custom filters in the Assets and RMM tab. Is there a way we can sort or search for specific filters? So on the first question regarding the customization of the customer, we don't have that right now, but I'm happy to add that. I'm going to make a note to add that to our list. And then on the second question, on a different note, we have a lot of custom filters in the Assets and RMM tab. Is there a way we can sort or search for specific filters? I'm not sure if you mean asset fields that we can search. If you're talking about custom fields, we absolutely can create saved searches and then search by those, add them into the customization. But I might be misunderstanding that question. Ladies, are either of you can answer that better?
You know, the only thing I was going to offer, because I think what you just said with the saved asset searches is probably the answer. But the other thing that I would like to just show here is that if you have different things you want to filter through, as you can see, we got incredibly granular here. So you can customize what is actually on this screen. And as I continue to scroll down, you can see there's a ton of different options. And if these headers are in blue, of course, they're sortable that way. So if you're looking to just customize the view, you can utilize that. Otherwise, I would, definitely do what Karla said. And I would suggest creating saved asset searches. And by doing that, you can create specific searches based upon your asset custom field. So like you can be like, oh, I want to search for all the ones that have this model. So you can do that using the saved asset search for sure. While I am unmuted, I'm just going to grab this one from Peter. I'm glad you brought this up. I just saw this the other day. He's asking about the community scripts and wanting to know, because we do have there's an outside repository as well. And just curious if we're going to put some more time into that community script library. And to answer your question, yes. I just literally saw a thread. I think someone mentioned it on Facebook, and we were like, oh yeah, we need to put some time back into that community script library. So to answer your question, yes, we're definitely going to put some time there.
Awesome. Thank you. A couple in here. Steve, great question. Haven't been using the customer portal yet, but when I start using it, will past tickets show up or only tickets from when you're starting the portal? So it won't just... Steve, you're making me laugh. Their past tickets are going to show up. It's not just going to show tickets from when you started using the customer portal. So don't worry about that. And two, just while we're here, since there's only one other question in here, I'm just going to share my screen with you guys, because if you haven't used the customer portal, it's awesome. And you don't have to give everyone access under a particular customer. You can actually create some pretty granular controls here. Each contact under the customer can have different permissions. So some of you might not have gotten to explore the customer portal yet. You can choose the different color for the tabs. You can add your logo here. But when we come here, you might have someone that's more of an admin or a manager or something like that. They can see the whole company's tickets, right? Maybe every other contact under this particular customer can just see their own tickets and create a ticket. But depending on their different role in the company, you can absolutely pick and choose what they have access to. You can put their reports on here as attachments. They can approve and decline estimates. They can even make payments if you're using one of our payment processors. So there's a ton of different information on here that you can give them access to, but again, you don't have to give them access to that. So I like to show that. Hopefully that helps for those of you who haven't had the opportunity to explore that yet. And then I have a question about minimum billing time. So I do have the timer set to round to the closest 5 minutes. But if we want to set up our invoices to have 30-minute default, and then if the tech goes over, just have the time added. Currently, it's not going to be handled that way. So it's just going to be done like on the timer. So if you haven't gotten there either, I'll go ahead and share that. I know you have, Larissa, but in the admin section, if you go under tickets and you go to preferences, you'll need to go down to additional settings here, but you can have the ticket timer round up. So again, this is specific to the ticket timer, but you can have it round up to the nearest 5, 15, 30, 60 minutes, whatever you would prefer. It's not going to be done for manual entries though. Good request though.
I'll hop in here and answer Fuzi's question. Hey, Fuzi, is it possible to receive an alert when there is a new script? I'm assuming when you mean if we add a script either to our library or to the community library. At this time, there isn't a way to do that, but I like that idea of a way to maybe subscribe and get new alerts. So I'm going to make a note of that as well. Thanks. That's a great asset.
Wonderful. Okay. No, Dennis, I don't think anyone saw that there was an iPad testing asset in the list. I'm fairly certain no one saw that. So that's no. Hi, Heinrich. Are you guys allowed to share some info on the new coming backup system in Syncro? Well, I think we can share that it's coming next week. And I think it's been really great. If you're not already a member of our Facebook group, there's been a lot of information posted about it, about what it's capable of. Even pricing, I think, has been put on the Facebook post. I don't know if Brandy, you have that post.
I do. I can drop it. I can absolutely drop exactly what Andy posted in the Facebook group. I'll just drop that in the chat for you guys. It'll be in a couple different chats just in case you don't have Facebook. You don't have to go in there. I have it. It'll take me a couple seconds to get that all in the chat, but I will drop that in there. We're super transparent about it.
Wonderful. Thank you. Yes. And honestly, Heinrich, the only reason I kind of hesitate is I can't show you anything. I don't have it in the demo account yet. And just the fact that it's getting released next week, we're super excited about it. And we're going to have so much, like the resources are going to be incredible because this is huge. Like this is a huge, huge release for Syncro. It's an entirely new module. And it touches everything. Brandy said this a little bit ago, that the true power of having combined RMM and PSA is the fact that we built this software from the ground up together. Everything talks to each other and it's so seamless that the amount of functionality you're going to have and the control over the billing, the deployment, it's absolutely wonderful. So again, we're continuing to hype it up and not really showing you anything. So I apologize that I can't show you anything yet, but it's coming so soon. So just hang tight with us on that. I was going to grab this one. I think I have the answer, but maybe if Karla has a different, or if there's anything via scripting or anything like that. But Nathan says, I've got a question about alerts and auto remediation. I have created an auto remediation that if it sees low hard drive space on an asset, it creates a ticket and clears the alert. However, if the alert comes back, it creates another ticket. Is there a way for it to update the existing ticket? Not that I know of. That was going to be my answer. I don't think that there is a way to do that. So, and I'm getting kind of head nods that, yeah, not at this time. Seems like I don't know. Go ahead.
Yeah, there's not a way to not have it create the ticket. You might be able to get away with doing something where it creates the ticket and then maybe then auto closes it if it's a separate one, but even that's a little iffy.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you.
Chris, he said, I missed what you just said was coming. It's back up. It's awesome. I just dropped all the details. I have to tell you guys a funny story about this because there aren't any questions in here except Steve wanting to know what kind of dog Karla has. You guys, I've been known as like spill the beans Brandy. If you haven't been with us for a few months in these, like that used to be what I was known for, and I've tried to just not because I get excited. I had a dream. I saw backups from our team. They showed us. It was awesome. I had training on it. I had a dream the same night that I found some demo account to log into to show someone on a demo. I'm crazy. But anyway, I told the team I had a dream that I spilled the beans and showed someone backup. I didn't.
That's hilarious. Okay, Karla, what kind of dog?
So she is Dachshund and Lab. So she's chocolate lab, but the size of a standard Dachshund. Yeah.
Cute.
And while I'm unmuted, I will answer Emily's follow-up. About my original question, I meant more that we have a lot of saved searches that I'd like to filter or sort. On the topic of customizing the columns on the asset view page, is there or will there be a way to save those column sets so that we can switch between different set easily? Unfortunately, there isn't a way to like save the columns. It's whoever changed them last is going to be what it's going to be. We haven't looked or talked about a way to save those views, like maybe per user, or have it like a saved search where we could have those. But I'm happy to add that to my list of great ideas. Thanks, Emily.
I'm so sorry. I pronounced Henrik, and I'm very sorry for pronouncing your name wrong. And I wish we could hear you all laughing as well. But Henrik, sorry. I'll remember.
Steve has a serious question now. So I know it's hard to believe for me, but what's the best place for deep dives into learning more about the PSA side of Synchro? Really, really awesome question. And actually, my favorite place is just to go into the training tab. If you all don't have a training tab, or you notice that we have a lot more on ours than you have, first of all, I'm just going to show you because we've got the time. Go into your admin section and customize your tabs. You can add and reorder whatever tabs you'd like to have in here. So you can definitely do that. But you have a training tab, and I really like on the onboarding videos, I think there's some really good ones for the PSA side. So in terms of like getting everything set up for customers and products and services and contracts and SLAs, I really like these. If you're a video type of a person like I am, you can also go into the knowledge base, of course, and you can use the Getting Started with Synchro guides if you like to read things. But honestly, our YouTube channel has some really awesome videos as well. So we can put a link. I'll drop a link to the YouTube channel too.
Well, the Q&A is blank. Oh, every time I say that, like a new question pops up. I'm just going to read it out loud, and anyone who wants to answer, go for it. Had an odd situation just last night. Alert arrived that 4 servers at one customer site that their servers went offline. When I woke up and discovered this, I saw that the servers were all back online, but the alert was still there. Can you step me through how I would auto remediate this when a system comes back online?
I will be happy to check that out. So let me share my screen. Let me share my screen. So when you set up the policy, there should be an option to auto remediate that. So we go down here to the, here. So if you have this enabled for whatever time frame, you can auto resolve alert when clear. That should do it. I do have a couple of tickets right now where that is not working. We haven't figured out why. If you have this checked and it's not working, do let us know, email into support, and we're happy to help. But this is how you would get that to automatically resolve that offline alert.
Thank you, Karla. So just quick comment, I hope that the new backup system will include image-based backups soon. It is something that we hope to add. We're just starting with file-based, and then we'll go from there. So it's not off the table. It's definitely something we're looking at.
Yep, absolutely. Along the same lines, project management and CRM, question mark, smiley face. So project management, and CRM. I know that for sure we're looking at different CRM modules and functionality for sure. I think we're actually looking into project management as well, but both of these things, I do not have a clear time frame. And so we get this request quite often right now with project management anyways. We have a lot of users that are heavily leveraging worksheets to kind of help mediate that right now. And then as far as the CRM, I would love to hear like what specific things we can do, because I know that that's something that we would like to add. And you know, right now, obviously, we've got a really awesome mailer module to help you keep in touch with your customers automatically. You can use saved customer searches, even saved asset searches to just send those automatic emails and that kind of thing, which is super helpful. You can even send emails just like that trigger after a ticket's closed to check in. How did we do? So there's a lot of things built into that mailer module. If you haven't dove, you know, like took some time in there. And then, with PBX integration. So we do have free PBX integrations. But I think if you're meaning to like link them into like more of CRM functionality, I'd be interested to see like what all you'd want that integration to do. Let's see here.
I just dropped a KB too, or not a KB, but a release note from yesterday in our chat. I have not had the opportunity yet to play around with the new features of the modular executive summary report builder, but there's some really awesome new stuff in there regarding custom fields, so that you guys aren't having to create custom reports and spending the time doing that, and being able to like filter and search by certain custom fields. So as you guys know, we did launch the executive summary report builder a few weeks ago, and you all know, if you've been with us for a bit, when we release a new feature, we continue to work on that new feature. Not because anything's broken, but because we're continuing to make it even more awesome. So we're adding new features as people are requesting in our communities, and we've taken it a step further and added some really awesome new things. So I dropped that in there just so you guys can see, but I think it's going to be a really, really great enhancement to your all's reports, and you can schedule those, remember.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for that. Okay, so I'm gonna end with like this little spiel. The answer is yes. Jose, do you know if the backup will be able to back up a NAS drive? I thought that's a yes. I think I just heard that. Okay. What I was just going to say is that for all of you that are joining us and you're in an active trial, if you have not already spoken to your point of contact here at Synchro, it's probably either Brandy. Tatiana's out today, but it's probably either Brandy, Tatiana, or Hannah. And if that's the case and you'd like a full product tour and you haven't had a tour yet, please reach out. We're happy to provide that. We want to create a really amazing user experience and help out where we can. We truly believe that this is a platform that offers incredible efficiency. You're going to save a ton of time, maybe even save some money along the way, and enable yourself to make even more money. So please reach out to us if you have any questions. And yes, don't forget, thank you, Brandy. We are doing a deep dive next week with Naomi, and it's going to be on the accounting integration. So hopefully that'll help clear some questions up. All right. So thank you all, and happy Friday. And thank you, Karla. We appreciate it.
Yes.
It's been wonderful. You're so lovely. So thank you so much.
It was my pleasure. Great to be here.
Thank you so much, Karla.
Yes, thank you. All right, this has been recorded. Check it out on YouTube probably later this afternoon. If not later this afternoon, for sure by Monday. All right, have an awesome weekend. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Have a great weekend.
Bye.